DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we're getting into a two-part mini-series. The topic, why Christianity is being openly disrespected, and not only in the United States, but around the world. We're going to get into why that is in a moment. But first, a couple things from our sponsors. Number one, make sure if you're not on my email list that you get on it by going to workonmygame.com. It is free to join. I send emails out every single day. Call them the daily game email. You like to read, you want to get game from me, straight from me, just like you do here on this show. Get on my email list. That's at workonmygame.com. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. You want to have me as your direct coach. We are focused on working with professionals out there, entrepreneurs out there who want to grow what you are doing. Those of you who are already at the six-figure level, you want to go to a higher level, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is the only place where you can have me as your direct coach. And we can get to work on everything from your mindset to your strategies to systematizing your processes to making it all work and keeping it working. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Those links are both down below in the description to this episode. So this topic, this is going to, again, be a two-part mini-series, why Christianity is being openly disrespected. First of all, let me explain to you that this is not a new topic for me. I have touched on this in the past, and I have been touching on it going on for at least the last 3 years. And I've even had conversations with people who I know to be actively Christians, people, and that's something that I'm not, but actively Christians, people who go to church every Sunday. I'll talk to them about this very subject. And I've asked many Christians, why, when you see Christianity being openly mocked and disrespected societally, why is no one in your religion, or even you, the person who I'm talking to, why have they not stepped up and said something or done something, seeing that your religion is being openly disrespected by people who clearly don't give a damn about the religion itself? And I also would ask them, and I've openly asked this question publicly, how much disrespect are Christians going to sit and observe before waking up and realizing that if you continue to allow it, there will be nothing left of it, at least in the eyes of people who are not active Christians. I'm not saying if you're a Christian, you're going to stop being a Christian because other people are trashing it. What I'm saying is people who are not Christian recognize and understand that Christianity is a thing. But if you allow it to keep getting disrespected, then it comes to the point that it's not really a thing, that nobody even cares that it used to be there. So I know that religions like Judaism and Islam exist because I can tell when someone is following them and the respect that they have for their own religion and the way they defend their religion's honor, or not allowing anybody else to disrespect it, and the respect that other people have for those religions because they will defend them. I don't see that same thing happening with Christianity, and that's what I'm going to talk about here today and tomorrow in this two-part series. So let's get into this. Point number one, topic once again is why Christianity is being openly disrespected. What are the rules? This is my open question to anyone who is an active Christian out there listening to this. What are the rules? I know that you generally, the Christians that I know, generally have an idea. They know what the rules are. And I have a follow-up question. Who's enforcing the rules? All right, being that there are rules, who is enforcing the rules of Christianity? You see, in any environment, if the rules are going to be respected, the rules must be clear, they must be clearly documented, and they must be consistently enforced by a person who has the authority to which their authority is respected, meaning people will follow you when you say, hey, that's a rule violation, you can't do that. They will stop doing it because you said it, because they respect your authority. All right, that's the only way a rule can get enforced. I don't see this happening with Christianity. That's the issue. I see people playing around with the term Christianity, doing whatever that they want to do around Christianity, and nobody is checking them for it. As an outsider of the Christianity that I am, maybe there's something I'm not seeing that maybe some of you know about that I don't know about. If there is, let me know what it is, because as I said, I don't see it. What are the rules of Christianity? What are the principles, and are those rules and principles being enforced? And when I say this, I'm not just talking about the outsiders, because if you're an outsider of Christianity, you don't really have to follow the rules of Christianity, of course. But there are rules to Christianity. What are those rules, and are they being enforced by people who claim to be practicing Christianity? This is an issue that I've seen. I'm seeing way too many people playing around with what I thought were the rules of Christianity. And again, maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe there are some things that have changed that I didn't know about. But I never knew that the LGBTQ flag was accepted under the umbrella of Christianity. I never knew that being a thing. First of all, I didn't even know, and I'm being facetious here when I say I didn't know the rainbow represented gay people and transgenders and bisexual. I didn't notice what the rainbow represented. From what I understand, the rainbow represents God's promise to man he would never flood the earth again. That's what I thought it meant. But the LGBTQ went and co-opted the flag and said this is what it means. And now you have people who are claiming Christian and then supporting the rainbow as a flag to represent gay people when that's not what it means. And then they're using Christianity to defend it, which is ridiculous. This is something that I talked about, and I might talk about it in this series. Those of you who remember, in mid-January 2025, after Donald Trump assumed the presidency for the second time, he went to church, and some bishop, quote unquote, in Washington, D.C., a female bishop. That's another thing. All right, since when did women get to head churches in Christianity? Didn't know that was a thing. She starts giving Donald Trump basically a piece of her mind, taking her personal opinions about life, mixing it in with some out of context scripture, which is a fallacy in and of itself, to pull things out of context just to defend your position, and then preaching it to Donald Trump in front of the entire world. And a bunch of people trashed her for it, and then a bunch of people defended her for it, say, well, she was just using words out of the Bible. How can people be mad about her using words out of the Bible? Well, there are words in the Bible and there's context in the Bible. Those are two different things. And again, this goes back to the very question I'm asking here in the first point. What are the rules? Because if the rule of Christianity says a woman cannot head a church, how is she heading a church? Number one. And number two, when you are representing Christianity as a leader in a church on a platform, your personal opinions are irrelevant because the platform is not about you. Platform is about the word of Christianity. You are simply a vessel for that word. What you personally think does not matter, nor should anybody even know. Same way back in the days when we went to school, you didn't know what your school teachers had going on outside of work. You might know they have a husband. You might know they have kids. Other than that, you didn't know anything about them personally. Why? Because they weren't on social media talking about it. They damn sure weren't in the classroom talking about it. And outside of school, you never saw them. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. So the question is, back to Christianity here, what are the rules? What are the rules of Christianity? And Christians who are listening to this, let me ask you this open question. Are fellow Christians following the same set of rules that you're following? And if not, how do you expect your religion to be respected by outsiders if y'all ain't even on the same page as what the rules are? Why would anybody else understand them? It's just an open question. And we're going to come back to this one many times through the series. So let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why Christianity is being openly disrespected. Number 2, too many alleged believers, and I use the term loosely when I call these people believers because I don't know what exactly they're believing in. They are on completely different ends of the spectrum. This is the biggest challenge I see with Christianity right here, right now. There are too many people calling themselves believers and followers of Christianity, but you can get two people in a room who both say they're believers, and one of them has a set of beliefs that is all the way over on the left, and another one has a set of beliefs that is all the way over on the right. That's impossible for both of you to be following the exact same religion, which has hard, etched in stone principles that are unchanging, but y'all are so far apart from each other. How is that possible if y'all are both following the same religion? The answer is a trick question. It's not possible. That's why, again, Christianity is being disrespected because you got people so far apart from each other, but they both claim to be Christians. Like, this is not possible. Again, I know there are different denominations of Christianity, but they ain't that far apart. They're not that far apart. So I was in a conversation on my recent live streams, and I asked this very question. How do you have two people claiming Christian, yet they are so far apart ideologically and in what they believe and how they practice things? And it was based on the fact that someone said, as an active follower of Christianity, this was the topic. I was talking about politics and I mentioned religion in the conversation. And someone left a comment and they said that they're an active follower of Christianity. So they're a believer, they're an active Christian. And they said that what their religion tells them is their number one priority when it comes to making decisions. They make all their decisions first based on what is biblically sound and what follows the principles of the Bible. And then everything else flows from there. Everything else falls in line underneath that. So I would guess anyone who follows a religion, this is the same way you should be looking at yours. If you're a Jewish person, if you're Islamic, that number one priority is what does your religion say about ABC, whatever subject you're about to dive into. Based on what it says, all of your other decisions fall in line behind that. And that makes sense to me. If those are your principles, then what comes before a principle? Nothing. You got principles, you have strategies, you have tactics in that order. So if you decide to follow a religion, then the principles of that religion become your guiding principles, period. No exceptions. If you're following a religion. So if you claim to be following Christianity, again, how are you supporting the rainbow flag to be a representation of gay people? How is that possible? That ain't what the rainbow means. You can't redefine and pick and choose what it means based on what you want it to mean, or based on, well, that's been around for a long time, so it's time for change. Bullshit. You do not change just to change in any space of life. And there are way too many people these days who have this false belief that just because something's been around for a long time, we need to change it and redefine it and come up with a new version of it just because it's new and fresh. Change just for the sake of change, which is what you see a lot societally these days. You see a lot of organizations talking about the movement for change or the push for change. Change of what? To what? And why? This whole concept of the movement for change it's idiotic on one level. It can become satanic on other levels, and it just doesn't make any logical sense. If you just want to keep it simple, you don't push for change just for the sake of saying that you made a change. Again, what is the purpose of the change? It's like if I go to the gym all the time and work out, and I say, all right, well, it's time to change. Why? Because I've been doing this for 20 years. Let me just do something there. How about I not work out every day? Why? Just because it's a change. All right? You've been doing the traditional thing. Just because something is new does not make it good. Just because something's old does not make it bad. Or just because something has been around or whatever it is you want to call it does not make it virtuous or better or useful just because it's some new thing. I talked about this in episode number 2747. Old does not equal bad. New does not equal better necessarily. So again, if you're following a religion, then all your principles are guided by the principles of that religion. You don't make up your own set of rules. So how is it that two people can be following Christianity and come to completely different conclusions, even politically? Since politics, everyone has an opinion. How can you have two people following Christianity, right? Yet one of them is a staunch leftist Democrat and the other one is a staunch conservative Republican. Not possible, because the two parties ain't that close together in terms of ideologies, in terms of how you live your life, how you operate with your family, things that are going on in society. They are not close to each other right now as of this recording. So how can both people be Christian but be on different sides of the aisle politically and strong on those sides? Can somebody explain that to me? If Christianity is your priority, there's no way you could have two people who both claim Christianity as their number one priority for decision making, and one be a Democrat and another one be a Republican. I'm not saying either political party is perfect. I'm saying one of them is much more aligned with the principles of the Bible than the other. You tell me which one. So the Democrats and Republicans are very far apart in terms of what they believe and what they stand for these days. And if two Christians are both following Christianity, how could they each be on either sides of this conversation? So again, it goes back to the question in the first point. What are the rules and what are the principles? I think Christians who are listening to this, I think you all, and I mean Christians as a whole, when I say you all, y'all need to get reacquainted with your principles. Seems to me that a lot of people in America are claiming Christian and none of you is on the same page as far as what the principles are. I think if I ask 10 different Christians what are the principles of Christianity, I get 10 different answers. That's the problem. If I ask 10 Jewish people, I would not get 10 different answers. If I ask 10 Islamic people, I would not get 10 different answers. If I ask 10 Christians, I would get 10 different answers. That's a problem. That's an internal issue, Christians. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why Christianity is being openly disrespected. Number 3. People seem to be prioritizing secular ideals, and then finding aspects of the religion that will validate those secular desires. This is what we call contextomy. It's a form of logical fallacy, is when you pull something out of context just because it supports the position or argument or point of view that you need to support right there in the moment. And this is what's happening with the Bible, and I understand why it happens. The reason it happens is because the Bible is a very big book with a lot of pages and a lot of words, and it's been around for a long time. And because of the internet, now you have the ability to search and find any passage in the Bible that says basically anything you could possibly think of to search for, which means any idea I could come up with, me, myself, right now, any idea I could come up with, I could go find a section in the Bible pulled out of context that affirms and validates whatever belief that I have. So this is a problem, because you could pull something out of the Bible that says it's okay to be gay. You could also pull something out of the Bible that says it's absolutely not okay to be gay. Both are in the Bible. Both are factually pulled from the Bible. Therefore, both are part of Christianity, technically. So which one is which? Because it probably is not saying both. And see, if you don't understand the thing that you pulled out of context in its context, then it's very easy to fool other people with things that you pulled out of context. Again, that's why it's a logical fallacy called contextomy. When you pull something out of context and then use it as a frame to validate whatever it is that you're doing. This is what I see a lot of people doing with the Bible these days. It was exactly what that quote unquote bishop in Washington, D.C. did with Donald Trump. She pulled some things out of the Bible to use as a crutch to defend and shield herself from criticism for what she wanted to say to Donald Trump, which was basically sharing her personal opinions. And then she grabbed some stuff out of the Bible to make it seem like it was biblically sound. It was not logically sound, first of all, because she pulled it out of context. It was not biblically sound, second of all, because she shouldn't be leading a church in the first place. And third of all, your personal opinion is irrelevant when you're on the platform of the church. It is not about you, whatever your name is. It is about the word of God. You are merely a vessel for that word. We shouldn't even notice you personally. We should just know you did a good job of being a vessel for the word that day when you're on the platform at a church. The platform of the church is not supposed to make you a star. That's not the point. Because then it's more about you than it is about what you're supposed to be doing. A leader in a church is like the referees in a football or a basketball game. If you go to a football or basketball game and you're driving home from the game talking about the referees and the referees did not do a good job, you shouldn't even notice the referees that they did a good job. You should be talking about the game. Referees are just there to facilitate and keep things in order, but they should not become the story. Same way that you're the person on the platform at the church, you should never be the story because it ain't about you. Only way you can become the story is you start making whatever you're preaching about you rather than making it about the word. Because see, if it's about the word, you will say, man, that preacher did a great job of being a vessel for the word. You'll say, man, the word is so amazing. The word is so great. The word is so perfect because the word is the message that you were getting. It's not so much about who was giving it to you because all their job is, again, is to facilitate. And there's another problem in Christianity. A whole lot of preachers and people standing on a platform in church have made spectacles of themselves and made superstars out of themselves. Well, how? If all we are preaching the same word, what's so special about you? Answer is there shouldn't be anything. Honestly, if we're thinking about it. So anyone's free to challenge me on any of these if you believe I got it wrong. The issue these days, again, is when it comes to context, is that people will find, they'll get some secular ideal that they want to follow. They'll find something in the Bible that validates it and say, okay, well, here's my rationalization for what I'm doing because it's in the Bible. Bullshit. The issue these days when it comes to context, because context matters, is that it's very easy to pull anything out of context these days because everything is Googleable and searchable. You see, back in the days, 25, 30 years ago, if you wanted to pull something out of the Bible out of context to use it as validation for your opinion, you had to actually pick up a Bible and actually read it to find this stuff that you were going to pull out of context. That takes a lot of work. Everybody's seen a Bible before, right? It has a lot of pages in it, and it's all text. Ain't no pictures. So you had to do a whole lot of work in order to find something out of context that would support whatever it is that you believed. And being that it's pretty hard to know where to even begin looking, you actually had to be a real student of the Bible. It meant you sat down and actually fucking read the book to get to that point where you could even potentially pull something out of context. These days, people can pull things out of context by simply Googling. You go on Google or some Bible website and say, hey, Bible website, show me some passages that say it's okay to beat somebody up. And they'll show you passages of the Bible validating physical violence. Now, does that mean physical violence is always right? No. Does it mean it's always wrong? No. Why? Because it depends on the context. You need the context of what it says, not just the content, which is pulling things out, pulling a sentence out because it says this and that validates what you're believing. Well, out of context, anything can validate anything. That's the issue. You can validate anything with anything if you strip away all the context of anything. I can find validation for anything I could possibly do, even things that would go beyond the confines of the law. Guaranteed. I can pull it out of the Bible. So when you pull things out of context, it's very easy to do these days. Reshape the idea however you wish. Then use, again, factual information. This is the out of context stuff to support your belief. This is the very thing that has allowed many race hustlers, politicians, and other deceitful people, con artists, to spread ideas far and wide to people who don't realize that they're being deceived. Because the deception is cloaked in something that you are familiar with and that you trust, such as the Bible, such as your religion. And in Christianity, as I already told you, the Bible is a very long book with a whole lot of words and a whole lot of text. You can find anything in the Bible that will co-sign any idea that you have already decided to accept. Any one of you, any idea you can come up with, there's something in the Bible that will validate it. Does that mean that the Bible advocates for everything? No, hell no, it doesn't advocate for everything. That's why the first question was, what are the rules? You see how all these pieces fit together? It's very easy to pull material out of the context of the Bible without ever sitting down to actually read the book. And this is what people do these days. I can go to ChatGPT or Google and ask it to give me a Bible passage that supports anything that I could fill in the blank with and have never read the book. And I will have supporting evidence, quote unquote, from the Bible that validates what I'm saying. That's called contextomy. This is a logical fallacy. 30 years ago, if I wanted to pull material out of the Bible, I had to actually read it. These days, I only have to own a Bible and I can pull something out of context that is from the Bible, use it and quote it, and then use that quote to validate whatever I'm thinking or whatever I want to believe. So next time someone quotes the Bible to you as a validation or defense mechanism for their argument, understand what I just explained to you and tell them what they're doing is a logical fallacy called contextomy, because they're pulling things out of context to use as a defense mechanism for their what may be a lousy or crappy position. But if you can defend it with the Bible, it shuts a lot of people up. And what makes this even worse is that church leaders, and I use the term loosely when I call these people leaders, they want to support a secular idea around things like LGBTQ or pushing a political candidate or telling people to vote for a certain political side. You will find material in the Bible that supports anything you want to do. All right. And this is coming from your leadership. So I understand why Christianity is in a state of entropy right now, or entropy is speeding up inside of Christianity right now is the better way of saying it. Entropy just means disorder and chaos. The reason there's more disorder and chaos in Christianity right now is because the standards are not being upheld and people are violating the standards and the principles and using the Bible as an excuse for doing so. What the hell do you think is going to happen when you do that? Exactly what is happening. And again, this is coming from people who are allegedly leaders in your organizations, people who are leaders who are inviting a politician to your church service to have them tell you, or to have your leader tell you, you should vote for this person because they're A, B, C. No politician should be, let me just say this, no religious platform should be using that religious platform as a place to push for a political candidate. I don't care who it is, especially in the United States of America, where the government is, and especially people who work in the government on the federal level generally are not to be trusted. You don't mix that with religion. You don't mix those together. All right. People can draw their own conclusions if they understand religion because it's being preached to them consistently enough. You being a vessel for the word as a church leader, people will be able to draw their own conclusions as to who to support politically based on the things that they're prioritizing that are coming from the teachings that you are given from the stage. And again, which you are merely a vessel for the word. Because if you're just a vessel for the word, then every Christian should be on the same page. How does it end up that there are a bunch of Christians on completely different pages? Because the people who are leading them ain't doing their jobs. They are giving their own interpretations when that's not the job. And I'm saying this not even as a Christian. I'm saying this as a person who simply understands how organizations and systems work. The way the organization and system of a religious entity works is that you, as the leader on the stage, is merely a vessel for the word. It is not about you. It's not about what you think, not about what you believe. It's not about your personal perspectives. It is about the word. And if people are noticing you, you ain't doing your job. Let's recap. This is part one of our two-part mini-series, Why Christianity is Being Openly Disrespected. Again, this is not a new topic for me. This is something that I have been talking about for some time. Point number one, what are the rules and who's enforcing the rules? What are the rules of Christianity? Who's enforcing the rules? And what happens if you violate a rule? These are questions that Christians, you should think about this. And many of you don't have answers. That's the problem. Number two, there are too many alleged believers on completely different ends of the spectrum. Again, two people cannot both be believers in Christianity. One of them be a hardcore Democrat, and another one being a hardcore Republican. That's not possible given the wide chasm between the ideologies of Democrats and Republicans these days. That means somebody is lying. That's what it means. Somebody's lying. And third point in today's mini-series, people seem to prioritize secular ideas. They don't come up with something out of the Bible called contextomy that validates their position, even though it was pulled completely out of context. And in context, it doesn't validate it, but they don't tell you that part because most people are too lazy to go find out where this person got what they were saying from. And these are the first couple reasons as to why Christianity is being openly disrespected, because of the open confusion and increased onset of entropy happening within Christianity. Tomorrow we're going to get into the rest of this. Make sure you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com so you can have me as your coach and we can get to work on your shit so you can stave off entity with standards, principles, and processes that keep the nonsense on the outside. Tomorrow, part 2 of the series. Work on your game. Dre all